Who could have told her that? Is she raving? Lizaveta Prokofyevna, trembling with wrath, turned to them all. You all said it, all of you, all these 3 days. I'll never, never marry him. Having shouted that, Aglaya dissolved in bitter tears, covered her face with a handkerchief, and collapsed into a chair. But he hasn't asked you yet. I haven't asked you, Aglaya Ivanovna, suddenly escaped from the prince. Why, at? Lizaveta Prokofyevna suddenly drew out in astonishment, indignation, and horror. What's the at? She refused to believe her ears. I meant to say, the prince was trembling. I only meant to explain to Aglaya Ivanovna, to have the honor of explaining to her that I never had any intention to have the honor of asking for her hand, even once. I'm not to blame for any of it, by God, I'm not, Aglaya Ivanovna. I never meant to, it never entered my mind and never will. You'll see for yourself, you may be sure. Some wicked man has slandered me before you. You may rest assured. Saying this, he approached Aglaya. She took away the handkerchief with which she had covered her face, quickly glanced at him and his whole frightened figure, realized what he had just said, and suddenly burst out laughing right in his face, such merry, irrepressible laughter, such funny and mocking laughter, that Adelaida was the first to succumb, especially when she also looked at the prince, rushed to her sister, embraced her, and laughed the same irrepressible, merry schoolgirl's laughter as Aglaya. Looking at them, the prince suddenly began to smile, too, and to repeat with a joyful and happy expression. Well, thank God, thank God. At this point Alexandra also could not help herself and laughed wholeheartedly. It seemed there would be no end to this laughter of the three of them. Ah, crazy girls! Lizaveta Prokofyevna muttered. First they frighten you, then. But Princess Hch, too, was laughing now, Yevgeny Pavlovich was laughing, Kolya was guffawing non-stop, and, looking at them all, the prince also guffawed. Let's go for a walk, let's go for a walk, cried Adelaida. All of us together, and certainly the prince with us. There's no need for you to leave, you dear man. What a dear man he is, Aglaya. Isn't it so, Mama? Besides, I must certainly kiss him and embrace him for what he just said to Aglaya. Mamun, dear, will you allow me to kiss him? Aglaya, allow me to kiss your prince, cried the mischievous girl, and she indeed ran over to the prince and kissed him on the forehead. He seized her hands, squeezed them so hard that Adelida nearly cried out, looked at her with infinite joy, and suddenly brought her hand quickly to his lips and kissed it 3 times. Let's go, then, Aglaya called. Prince, you'll escort me. Can he, Mamun? A suitor who has rejected me? You have rejected me forever, haven't you, Prince? No, you don't offer a lady your arm like that? Don't you know how to take a lady's arm? Like this, come on, we'll go ahead of them all. Do you want to go ahead of them, tête-à-tête? She talked non-stop, still with bursts of laughter. Thank God! Thank God! Lizaveta Prokofyevna kept repeating, not knowing herself what she was glad about. Extremely strange people, thought Prince Shch, maybe for the 100th time since he had become close with them, but he liked these strange people. As for the prince, maybe he did not like him so much. Prince Shch was a bit glum and as if preoccupied as they all went out for a walk. Yevgeny Pavlovich seemed to be in the merriest spirits. He made Alexandra and Adelida laugh all the way to the Vauxhall, and they laughed somehow especially readily at his jokes, so much so that he began to have a sneaking suspicion that they might not be listening to him at all. At this thought, suddenly and without explaining the reason, he burst at last into extremely and absolutely sincere laughter. Such was his character. The sisters, though they were in a most festive mood, glanced constantly at Aglaya and the prince, who were walking ahead of them. It was clear that their little sister had set them a great riddle. Prince Shch kept trying to strike up a conversation with Lizaveta Prokofyevna about unrelated things, perhaps in order to distract her, but she found him terribly tiresome. Her thoughts seemed quite scattered. She gave inappropriate answers and sometimes did not answer at all. But Aglaya Ivanovna's riddles were not yet ended for that evening. The last one fell to the prince's lot. When they had gone about 100 steps from the dacha, Aglaya said in a rapid half-whisper to her stubbornly silent escort, "Look to the right." The prince looked. "Look closer. Do you see the bench in the park, where those 3 big trees are, the green bench?" The prince answered that he did. "Do you like the setting? Sometimes I come early, at 7 o'clock, when everyone is still asleep, to sit there by myself." The prince murmured that it was a wonderful setting. "And now go away from me, I don't want to walk arm in arm with you anymore. Or better, let's walk arm in arm, but don't say a word to me. I want to think alone to myself." The warning was in any case unnecessary. The prince would certainly not have uttered a single word all the way even without orders. His heart began to pound terribly when he heard about the bench.